What is up guys, Jarv here, back today jumping into Destiny. In today's video, we're taking a look at the very best farms in Lightfall. There's been many new farms added to the game, so today we're going to take a look at the ones that provide guaranteed weapons, red border Deepsight weapons, and even exotics. So be sure to stick around and enjoy the video. If you do enjoy the video, be sure to leave a comment and rating down below, and remember to subscribe for more Destiny 2 content. But without further delay guys, let's jump into the video. Now, with each and every DLC that gets added to Destiny 2, we get some brand new farms as well, except with Lightfall, there are so many, it's hard to keep track. So the idea behind this video is that we combine all the best farms into one, so you can focus your efforts where you need to chase the loot that you desire. Now, to get things started, we're going to take a look at the best way to get your hands on that Season of Defiance loot, and those Defiance engrams, and also those Defiant keys. Now, one of the fundamental changes in Lightfall is the introduction of seasonal engrams. In the past, these were known as umbral engrams and would take up room in your inventory. Except now, whenever you earn a seasonal engram, these in fact get added to the vendor. So in theory, you can hold an infinite amount of these engrams and decrypt them when you're ready, whether that be for armor or even Deepsight resonance weapons. Now, as for the Defiance keys, these will be needed when you complete the Battlegrounds activity, allowing you to open the chest, which can grant you additional Season of Defiance loot. Now, by far the most efficient place to farm both of these is over in the Shattered Throne. Now, to farm these engrams and keys, you'll need to get to Dol Inkaru, who is the final boss. Now, once you arrive at Dol Inkaru, you'll need to hold on to the checkpoint, so you'll first need to start the encounter and wipe as a fire team. This will save the checkpoint on all three Guardians, and then one member of the fire team will need to change character. This will mean that that Guardian will hold onto the checkpoint, allowing you to load back in over and over again. Now, the reason we want to farm Dol Inkaru is this is the fastest encounter in the dungeon, and she also has a very high drop chance of Defiance keys and also Defiant engrams. Now, a very efficient team can take Dol Inkaru out in little over 30 seconds, and when you combine the changing over of Guardians to loading the checkpoint, each run takes little over 2.5 minutes. It's by far the most efficient way and allows you to stack up loads of engrams over at the war table in the helm. Now, after you've spent a bit of time farming Dol Inkaru, you can head over to the war table, and then depending on the loot that you're chasing, you can decrypt these engrams. Now, if you're chasing down the patterns so you can craft all the new Season of Defiance weapons, then you can decode them into weapons that all have a chance to drop as Deepsight resonance versions. As we unlock further upgrades to the war table, you will also unlock the ability to earn Defiance keys by decoding engrams, which means that you should never be short of Defiant keys when running the Battlegrounds activity. It's important to remember though, you can only hold 5 keys in total, so if you have these maxed out, be sure to use them up in order to allow you to earn additional keys. Now, next up, we're going to move over to Neomuna and how you can farm out the Lightfall weapons and also earn Deepsight resonance versions of those from the Terminal Overload activity. Now, the Terminal Overload activity is available in one of 3 locations on Neomuna, and this rotates around on a daily basis. Now, Terminal Overload is a public activity, so whilst it does offer you the opportunity to load in as a fire team, you will also be match-made with other like-minded Guardians. Now, whilst you're running the Terminal Overload activity, there are loads of patrols that you can run and even regional chests to find. These chests on Neomuna also have a chance to drop Terminal Overload keys, which will allow you to open the second chest when completing the activity. Now, as well as those chests, when you complete the activity, there will be a guaranteed chest that you can open that also has a high drop chance for these keys. These will in fact allow you to open the additional chest at the end, which is guaranteed to give you Lightfall weapons. Now, in this chest, you can also get some of the old weapons from previous seasons, such as the Ikelos weapons. So if you didn't earn the patterns to those previously, or you're new to Destiny and want to pick those up, then this will be the source to get your hands on them. Now, engaging with all the chests, patrols, and the activity will allow you to earn XP, which will level up Nimbus over on Neomuna, which will also unlock additional upgrades, making this event even more rewarding. But to take the dial and to turn it up to 12, you can also triple and even quadruple dip on some of the final chests at the end of the activity. Now, we made a video covering this earlier in the season, but essentially you need to grab the chest, jump onto your Sparrow, and head towards one of the other load zones. Now, as soon as you reach that load zone, you want to do a complete 180 and return back to the chest, which would have reloaded and actually allows you to reloot the chest. Now, as we mentioned, you can triple and even quadruple dip some of the chests depending on the location of the terminal overload activity, making this one of the most rewarding farms in Destiny 2 at the moment. So if you are chasing down the Deepsight Resonance versions of all the Lightfall weapons, then there aren't many better farms than this. Now, another thing to be mindful of when you're over on Neomuna are heroic patrols. You can find these as gold patrol icons, which you can see if you bring up your ghost when loading into each area. Now, these patrols are essentially high value targets, and if you can take out that target, they'll guarantee to provide you a Lightfall weapon. And this has a very high drop chance of being a Deepsight Resonance version. Now, to help increase your chances of getting heroic patrols, you can load in as a fire team with each member of your team taking a different zone and clearing out all the patrols to refresh them and hopefully get a heroic one. Another option is to load in and just check all 3 zones, and if you can't find one is to return to orbit and load back into Neomuna. Now, the most time consuming part of this farm is just locating a heroic patrol, but as soon as you find one, it's simply a matter of heading off to that target, taking them out and getting your guaranteed Lightfall weapon. Now, the final farm we're going to take a look at today are the Vex Strike Force public events. Now, these are very rare public events that have a chance to spawn in the Vex Incursion Zone. Now, if you played Destiny back in Season of the Undying, these are very familiar as there are massive waves of Vex and huge Vex Minotaurs. Now, these Minotaurs are some of the toughest targets that you'll find out in patrol, and as such, this event is guaranteed to offer you an exotic and a terminal overload key. Now, once you activate the public event, you'll have just under 11 minutes to defeat all the Vex, and more importantly, the 6 massive Minotaurs. Now, these spawn in phases, so at the very beginning, you'll need to just defeat 1, followed by 2, and finally 3 Minotaurs together. Now, these are all shielded, so you will need to take out the Void Minotaurs, which drop craniums, and you can use these to take off the shield. Now, these craniums deal incredible amounts of damage too, and I highly recommend using them to help take out the larger Minotaur targets. Now, if you do stumble across some of these events on your own, if possible, I would highly recommend inviting a friend, as this is very much currently an activity that you won't be able to complete solo. But as we mentioned earlier, if you and your fire team can pull this off and take out all the Minotaur bosses, then you'll get a small Vex chest, which is guaranteed to provide a terminal overload key as well as an exotic. Now, much like the heroic patrols, these are incredibly rare and can take up to 2 or 3 hours to spawn, so I highly recommend trying to partake in them when you see them and doing your best to succeed to get that sweet exotic loot. But as they are public events, much like pretty much every other public event in Destiny, it is in fact possible to double dip. So if you can get a team that is absolutely cracked and take out all these 6 Minotaurs incredibly fast, then it is possible to reload back into the instance and simply just repeat this very rare public event for another guaranteed exotic. Now, don't get me wrong, that is incredibly hard to do due to the difficulty of the combatants, but it is entirely possible and maybe something that we could do consistently later in the season. So there we have it, guys, a good look at what are some of the best farms currently available in Lightfall. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to check out one of the 2 videos you see here in these cards for more Destiny 2 content. And if you want to keep up to date with everything to do with Destiny 2, then be sure to hit subscribe as well. I'm going to jump into the game as always, guys, and I will catch you all again very soon.